Welcome to What's Your Liberated Expression Live. My name is Dr. Johnette Ruffner-Ceaser. I am the founder and CEO of Liberated Expressions, LLC, which is a professional wellness agency designed to teach mid to senior level career women how to obtain professional peace. And I do that work through inspirational career advising, serene professional development workshops, and mesmerizing resume support. And joining me is my dear friend, Mary. She is the founder of First Mate Life Coach. And I want to give her an opportunity to introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Excuse my voice. I use it too much in coaching, so sometimes it gets a little... Anyway, so First Mate Life Coach is a business I started to support people who are in career transitions or are in jobs in the corporate culture where they're experiencing high levels of anxiety, stress, due to challenges, whether within the construct of the corporation and their role, or if they're trying to transition. I also do, so my focus is business consulting, but I also do life coaching to help folks with any manner of thing to get out of their own way, to get unstuck, to identify and get back in touch with what's really important to them, craft plans, and sort of hold their hand and help them achieve their goals and dreams. So.
Perfect. Thank you. So listen, you all, before we begin, I want to give you a little bit of background to set up the conversation. What's Your Liberated Expression Live is part 2 of a video series I created called What's Your Liberated Expression? I asked several people in my network to participate by sharing a 30 to 60-second video sharing one way they've been liberated or what they've been freed from. Now, I only asked those individuals that I really felt led to participate in this. Some people agreed, other folks didn't agree. And so a total of 13 people participated, and Mary was one of those individuals. And the goal really was to have folks to share their liberating stories in the hopes that listeners will be inspired, motivated, encouraged, and so that they can do everything they were designed to do, leaving absolutely nothing on the table. After a conversation with Mary about the video series, it really struck me that she needed to be a part of this process. And so here we are, and I'm excited about it. So here's how the conversation is going to flow today. The first 30 minutes, Mary and I will use a interview style process that will, I believe, ignite some of your thoughts and answer some of the questions that you may have, of which you shared with me through the registration process, what you want to get out of this session, what you need from this session, why you even registered for this session. And so the latter half of the hour, we want to open the floor so that you can really share your questions, feedback, and comments. And we want to encourage you to use the chat feature. You know, I'm a church girl. I'm accustomed to amens and thank yous and, call and response. And so if something strikes you, please share it in the chat, react in some way, or use some of the emojis to express how you are feeling in that particular moment. Many of you I know are participating because you're interested in the topic, you want to gain more knowledge and insight, and you like hearing inspiring stories. And then others of you have joined because you want to understand your liberation. You want to hear other women's stories about pushing through feeling unsettled. You want to gain new perspectives on the corporate world and how to approach challenges. And you want to boost your understanding of your professional value, whatever it is. Mary and I want to make sure that you get what you came here to get, either through this session or via some one-to-one support. But before we get started, I want to just take a moment to release. Okay, just relax a bit and put aside whatever stress or anxiety you may have felt earlier today, prior to this very moment. And the way that you know that you might be feeling some stress is your shoulders are maybe a little tight. Um, you may not even be breathing fully. You may be holding your breath. You may be clenching your teeth right now or gripping your fists. And so, just in this moment, just take a moment to breathe. Just leave everything that you came in here with to the side. Just take a moment, close your eyes, imagine yourself kind of erasing the board, right? Clearing the slate, because you came here for something and might as well start the process with what you came to get: some clarity, rejuvenation, peace. So let's start the session with all of those things. And so you leave with those things as well. All right. Very good. Everyone feeling good? Just show me something in the chat or some emoji. I think they're in the reaction section. Just let me know that you're here and we're all on the same page. Great. Thank you. I appreciate it. Welcome, 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 everyone who is just now joining us. So, Mary, I'm going to start with you. Again, we're going to go through like an interview style process where Mary's going to ask me some questions and I'm going to ask her some questions. So, you all, we started, as I mentioned, this process. And Mary and I had an initial conversation about what this is or could be. What is this whole thing about liberated expressions? And what is a liberated expression? And she was sharing with me about her love for playing the guitar. And she correlated that with where she was professionally. And Mary, I'll never forget. I think I'm going to keep this in my journal. What you said to me was, I put my guitar under the bed and pieces of myself with it. So if you would take a moment to elaborate on that statement.
Sure. Thank you, Johnette. So basically, I was someone who kind of jumped into my work life abruptly without much planning. And, early in my 20s, I was struggling a lot. I had once dreamed of becoming, Joan Jett, but that was long by the wayside when the realities of, putting a roof over your head and kind of trying to continue your education hit home. So one day I found myself ironing my uniform for work on my guitar case. And it really was like a moment of clarity. It was not a happy moment. I'll share with you. It was very emotional. And I thought, what's going on here? I'm getting farther and farther away from who I am and what's important to me.
Yeah.
Am I going to have to totally leave behind everything I love to just keep a roof over my head and that's it? And so I made a conscious effort at that moment that I had to change my life. I had to do better. I deserved better. I could do better. I had a lot of capabilities and talents, and I just needed to put them out there and see what happens. So I opened myself up to opportunities. I told my friends what my dilemma was, and pretty soon I got some really good opportunities that have lifted me up and led to a great career. But still, the guitar was under the bed.
Right.
So I took the guitar out one day and I dusted it off and I said, okay, now we're actually going to play this guitar. Now that we have the freedom from worry, we can support ourselves. We have a good job, a career going. Let's get back to who we once was and how I started. So when I picked my guitar up again, that really, I don't know how it happened, but it opened up new avenues in my career. because it made me think, wait a minute, the way I feel when I'm playing a guitar, connected to people, it's almost, a spiritual thing for me, because I feel music power to, join people, is how I really want to feel at work.
Right.
But I'm in a sales career, so this was a conundrum. And so that's how it led me to consider other things, and ultimately to get a certification in life and business coaching.
Right, right. So what about now? Right. So you shared with me yesterday, right? So there's still, this is an evolving process, and I don't know the time frame in which you put pieces of yourself in the guitar case under the bed. But fast forward to now and the connection between the guitar and your professional life.
Sure. So now you can't see it, but right behind the tripod and camera here are two guitars. And I keep them out of the case purposefully all the time. So they're always there as a reminder to me not to ever put myself under the bed and subordinate who I am to an employer, to a partner, to anybody, because it doesn't serve anyone.
Right.
And so it was a long time. It was 10 or 15 years that the guitar was untouched, and it was a 14-year operations career and a 21-year sales career.
Wow. Yeah.
Before I finally got the message, remembering a friend had told me, find the work you love, because if you don't, someone's going to exploit your talent, Mary. You're very talented.
Right.
You're very good in business, and there's a lot of people who need your skills. So not for any bad reason, but because someone needs you for their company, you will be sucked into that.
Yeah.
And 20 or 30 years will go by. So my new career is something that I wake up every day happy to do, feeling fulfilled and a sense of peace that I never had before. And I would wish this for everyone. I'm able to support myself. I think I see only more opportunities in the future, not less, than I ever did before. And I would just like to help people so it doesn't take them 30 years like it took me to realize that.
Right, right. The other thing that you shared with me is that in some ways, that thing that you love, the music has ushered you in to this new season, right? And I love that, by the way, ushering you in. And it's not the big things. Sometimes it's that small thing that you think is so insignificant, but you realize that it really isn't insignificant at all. And you packed it away because you didn't know the value of it. But then one day this awakening happens and you realize, whoa, I need that. I needed that. And that is the very thing that opens you up to this world that has been waiting for you all along, right? And so,
absolutely.
Yeah. And so we talked about one's assignment, and I see Sabrina getting to a place of alignment. So I put assignment and alignment. So would you just share with me what we talked about yesterday in terms of the assignment piece related to the guitar and how that relates to showing up and where we need to be?
Absolutely. So, Johnette and I had a discussion about how we align ourselves with different people for a number of reasons: financial, career, whatever the reason be, educational. And sometimes that alignment is not aligned with our true values and who we are. And we don't realize it for a while, but we just know something's a little bit wrong. And, Johnette introduced me to the term assignment, saying that if you open yourself up to the things and get back in touch with the things that are truly valuable to you, your values, things that are meant to be for you will automatically be assigned. In other words, they will come to you from the universe, from collaboration, like with me and Johnette today, or whatever the case may be. You will get these assignments organically if you are true to yourself. And sometimes one little thing, as Johnette put it, will trigger who you used to be. Wait a minute, that is important. And I put it aside because, I don't know, my partner doesn't like guitar music or right, whatever the case may be. So in terms of assignment, I thought it was kind of ironic because when we were discussing it the other day, I had just gone through a lesson on finger picking on acoustic guitar. And the term assignment refers to where you place your right hand fingers on the strings in front of the strings so they're ready to go, and how they stay in place, hovering above the strings. But depending on what you're doing with your left hand, that assignment on your right hand changes and creates a whole different spectrum of music and melody. So it's these little shifts as far as one string to another that can change the whole tone of a song, from moody to happy, from poignant love song to,
Right. And that that just excites me every time you say it, because one movement, one adjustment creates a different tone, different sound, a different vibration. And so it is with how we move through life personally and professionally, how we move, how we position ourselves, what we align ourselves with can produce different vibrations, right? Who, and I want to pick up on this, which leads to my next question, who we align ourselves with, not just what, but who. And so you said we align ourselves with others for many reasons, and that alignment doesn't align necessarily with our true selves. So that can be relationships, romantic or professional, friendships, all sorts of things, and how we have to be very mindful about how we move forward in that process. And if I might say, and I want you to elaborate on this, not operating out of expectation. I'm expected to do this, and so therefore I will align myself in this way. And in my opinion, that's really detrimental for everyone, but particularly women.
Yes, I think with women, my women clients and my men clients, my male clients too, but I think to a greater extent with my female clients, there's this woulda, coulda, shoulda. I should be doing this. I would have done this, but, I could, but, and so, but what? So this is some of the things we explore to find out what's holding you back from living your best life. Is it fear? Is it someone else's expectation that's been foisted upon you? And how to handle that, manage that, and put it in its proper place. My father wanted me to be a lawyer, and that's great, but that wasn't my calling. And so I can, look at that picture of my father and maybe leave it in the car when I go to the interview for whatever I'm going for, as sort of a reminder that, Dad, you're not in this space with me. I love you dearly. I respect your opinion, but we dissent. We don't have the same opinion here, and I'm gonna live my best life. And sometimes it's other things. Sometimes it's fear of financial, crisis. Now, caveat that Johnette and I both know, you can't be happy, if you're worried all the time. So money matters, and making a living matters. But if we can align ourselves with what we do for a living, with who our true selves are, the money will come, the abundance will come. And it's just a very transformational thing. It's not easy. It takes hard work. It takes overcoming fear. But what's nice to know is you have someone that can help you do that, that can metaphorically take your hand.
Yeah. In the couple of minutes that we have before we trade off, I have one more question, if you're willing to share. We talked about the comfort of the big salary, the cars, all of these things that you acquired through your previous career, and the transition, and just the aha that you got from making that transition, if you would share.
Sure. So basically, I had the trappings of a successful life, air quotes, gone wild here. But basically, the nice car, the nice house, I achieved it all myself. I lived in a nice area. I had a well-respected title and was successful. But when I put the key in the lock at the end of the day, I had this feeling that I wasn't following my calling, that there was something missing, and that, is this all there is? Is this as good as it gets for me? There was no sense of leaving a legacy. There was no sense of contributing to something meaningful. I was in a company where my manager didn't say hello to me unless I was meeting my sales quota. And that was sort of an intimidation thing. And I got it and I would laugh at it and I succeeded. But laughing at it allowed me to say, oh, that doesn't matter. But it does matter.
Yeah.
It does matter. I care deeply about people. I don't want to ever not be polite and kind to people.
Right.
And that's one of my values, is to be humble and kind. And that wasn't tracking with the sales career that I had achieved.
Yeah.
So to make that radical shift took me 4 years of study and practice in terms of practicing the craft of coaching during my studies until I got certified as a coach in training. And I half believed I could do it in the beginning. Part of it said, oh, you're just taking classes on the side.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to still be a salesperson, But then as I grew to love it more and more, I realized this is where I belong. And it was an aha moment. And when I made the break this last July and left my sales career, I have to tell you, I never looked back. I don't miss it. I miss some of the people who I'm so lucky to still have in my life.
Yeah.
But I don't miss the career. I don't look back. But I'm happy that I learned the business part. As Johnette always tells me, you learned something, even if it was difficult and it wasn't the right fit. You learned, and you're carrying those lessons forward. And it does help me with my business coaching. So I think it's all coming together because I'm thinking about myself and about my own calling and about what I'm meant to do to give back. And when you do that, something magic happens. I can't fully explain it, but that's the best I can.
Exactly. And I really love what else you said before we switch, is you talked about how if we're not careful and we keep the pieces of ourselves under the bed, and if we lean into the trappings of what seems like peace and happiness, we end up losing our soul. And so that's major. And it isn't something that we should take lightly, that it really is critical so that we don't become like the Walking Dead and not fall into the trap of this comfort. Yes, money matters. Absolutely it does. But your peace and happiness matters as well. So, Mary, thank you. I appreciate you for sharing that.
Thank you.
All right, now we can switch.
Hey, now Johnette's in the hot seat. So, Johnette, I'm very interested to hear. I know because we're friends, but every time you tell the story, I get something different from it. How did you create, what was the inspiration for Liberated Expressions, your business, and how did you come to create it?
Yeah. So Liberated Expressions, the name, came as a result of my hair journey. I went from having permed hair to natural hair. I won't go into the details of what that means, but it was truly a liberating and freeing experience. I shared it with a friend of mine. My friend said, well, that's a liberated expression. The fact that you don't have to be, you're no longer concerned about this aspect of your hair, you're able to now move more freely and carefree. That was about 10 years approximately or more before I started the business. I didn't even know what the business was going to be. So long story short, I have 3 degrees. The third is a doctorate in education policy and leadership. Earned that in 2012. Resigned from my job in order to finish my dissertation. I had been doing it part-time up until that point, but then dissertation time, I had to really clamp down. And so graduated. It took a minute, to my surprise, to get back into the workforce because everything that I was told from age 5 to whatever age I was, go to school, get a good job, and live your dream. That me not being able to acquire the type of job I was looking for and needed wasn't supposed to happen to me. And then when I did, I took a $20,000 pay cut and then experienced 2 layoffs after that. So I'm floored. It's not supposed to happen to me, right? And so after being laid off from the second job, mind you, I had finally reached the salary I wanted, had experienced 2 promotions in that role. And then the organization decides they're going to reorg. At that point, I said, and even before that, because something in me said, you're not going to be here long. I didn't want to hear it, but you're not going to be here long. Start the business. So as soon as the very next day, I registered my business, and I said, I don't want other women or other people to feel what I felt, experience what I've experienced. And so I'm going to turn my pain into purpose. And I started off with resume writing. Now, I'm giving you a really short version of the full story, but I started with resume writing. 5 years later, here today, it has expanded. I've gone from being a professional services agency to now a professional wellness agency, because I started to see this is so much more than professional development. This is spiritual development. This is soul development. This is emotional development. And I realized that, but I didn't have a name for it, is when I did my first workshop, and women's were crying and releasing so much stuff that they had been carrying around. And I'm like, oh, this is way more. But it's a process, and it has taken me till last week, actually, maybe 2 weeks ago, to understand that this is about professional wellness. And so that is how all of this came about, from my own pain. And trust me, if I could have done it a different way, I would have. But I feel like it was a spiritual push, because I wouldn't have done it on my own. I would have remained comfortable. And quite frankly, I'm glad, I could eliminate some of the stuff, some of the pain. But I'm glad that it happened the way that it happened, because I've learned so much.
Fantastic. You inspire me so much, Johnette, from the moment we first met in class, in coaching class. And I knew too, and didn't have a word for it, that you have a gift, and that it goes way beyond a job or a career with you. It's a real gift. So I feel very fortunate to know you. The next question I have, and it's the last question, is, in this world, the world of business is largely still a man's world. And, I noticed that the women in business that I've met, a lot of them are not helpful to other women coming up. And it always strikes me as odd and makes me sad, because I just feel like we're sisters and we need to help each other as a collective, because when we do, it's powerful. But what inspired you to call on coaches? Because really, they're your competition. And I particularly admire you for doing that, because you're actually helping to promote your competition. And how did that come to you, and how did that come about?
Yeah. So, like I said, when I did the What's Your Liberated Expression video series, I didn't even realize they were coaches until you said that to me. And I'm like, wow, these are coaches. But it was coaches that responded. So I only asked the people that I was led to ask. So looking in, who are my LinkedIn connections, Facebook connections, private connections. And I only asked the people that I was led to ask. Not everyone responded. And and what really got me was that there are some people I asked and they didn't ask any questions. They just took it and sent me a video. And I was like, whoa. And so I started to see, and I'll talk about that later, a pattern in that. But in terms of women supporting women, here's the thing. I learned that there's enough to go around. There's no reason to have a scarcity mindset. We can acquire more together The more can range from money to knowledge, to sisterhood, to friendship. And I just believe that when women come together, I mean, something amazing happens if we would only realize it, right? I'll give you an example. I was recommended to these two ladies when I was like really in the dumps, trying to figure out what my next move was. Because mind you, I had never been without a job, and then to be rejected, layoff. Wow, right? So that hit it hit hard, and I didn't understand what was going on. So I really needed help. Was referred to these individuals who were leaders, coaches, whatever you want to call it. And I was just asking a question like, can you give me some tips on how to get started? And the response I got back was, well, you have to do the work. You have to this and that. And it was abrasive. And I wasn't asking for their keys to the kingdom. I was just asking for some support, some care, some love, right? But I couldn't find it in those two individuals. And I said, I don't want to show up that way. I don't ever want anyone to feel what I felt, particularly in a moment of despair. It hurt. It really, really hurt. And it took me a minute to get over that. And so now, not that it's in my personality anyway to behave that way, but the bottom line is, you talk about other coaches and me inviting them into this space. I can't do what you do, Mary, and you can't do what I do. But together we can do a lot. So I don't have to be worried about you taking my clients or me promoting you. No, I'm going to celebrate you. I'm going to promote you. In fact, I've been known in meeting with clients to say, if I can't serve you, I know who can, and begin to refer folks to other resume writers, other coaches, etc. Because I don't lose anything by doing that. And so there's no reason to have a scarcity mindset. You can't give and you can't get with that type of mentality.
100%. I feel like standing up and giving you a standing O, because you're such a great speaker and you are so good at delivering these points, Johnette. And this is one of the reasons why I want to promote you tirelessly.
Thank you, sis. Love you.
But and guys, if you have any questions for us, just shoot them in the chat. Are we good now, Johnette? I'm sorry.
Yes, let's transition. Please, turn on your camera if you'd like, or come off of mute, or put it in the chat so that we can address your questions. And two, if you have feedback, please share that as well. Okay. If there aren't any, Coach Tosh, hi.
Hi. Yeah, I would just, no questions, but definitely a big round of applause to both of you. Thank you for all of your words, what each of you said. So I just wanted to celebrate both of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Natasha. Thank you.
I appreciate that. And good to meet you, Natasha.
Nice to meet you too.
Anyone else?
I have a question for Mary. When you talked about you put your dad had a vision for you to be a lawyer, and one of your tactics was to put his picture, away when you went into something that was opposing to his views for you. Can you talk, I guess, a little bit more about that, and just more about expanding on, when you have someone that's important in your life and they have thoughts and things, whether it be your partner or a really close family member, and they have things that they see you doing that don't necessarily agree with what you feel is your purpose. What are some tools or tips you would give to someone in dealing with those situations, and how to navigate or manage the ability to just put their thoughts away so that you can move forward in what you're thinking or in your purpose?
I'm happy to address that. And I'm sorry, your name is not coming up on my phone.
It's Mecca.
Mecca. Very nice to meet you, Mecca. So yeah, so the putting of the picture away is an example of one of the exercises that we work on in coaching, where someone has a negative critic, someone in their head, an inner critic, someone in their head that is holding them back. And this can be someone that's well-meaning. In my case, it was my dad. You know, he wanted me to succeed, and he had an idea and a definition of what success was. So we tried to overparent or parent me, you know, whatever you want to say. So in coaching, we have this idea where you can pick a structure of some kind or draw a picture of whatever that negative inner voice looks like. So it can be an actual photograph, or you could draw a picture, or get some other structure that reminds you of that person. If it's someone else other than yourself, if it's yourself, then it's a different tactic. But if it's someone external to you that you're trying to please, or that you don't want to let down, or that makes you feel less than, like you're not up to the challenge, there's a way to sort of physically put them somewhere. The picture is one way, where you take a picture and you take it with you, let's say to an interview or to work that day if you're having trouble with a colleague and you're feeling insecure, and you leave that picture in the car, like I said, and you say to the picture before you leave, okay, I love you, but you have to stay here. You're not coming inside with me. I got this. Now, it sounds crazy, but really having that physical thing and doing it seems to help folks. It has some sort of a biofeedback loop that helps people to do it. Another thing, you know, that you could do is you could put their name on a piece of paper and find the biggest book in your house and put it on your chair, and just when you're working, just sit on that book. It gives you the idea that you are not letting them hold space. You are putting them in a space where it's okay for them to be, where they don't invade your space as you're trying to live your best life. You know, that's a part of working through that whole challenge, Mecca. And there's other parts that of things that we do through powerful questioning and helping you build awareness of when that person may be holding you back, and some of the strengths that are unique to you through some assessments that we give that you can leverage, that you don't even know or you forgot you have, to overcome the next time that you get hijacked by that negative, you know, idea or someone else's expectations, so that you can continue on your journey.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
You're very welcome.
Hey, I had a quick question to add on to that. So what if it's you and not another person?
Wonderful question. And I'm sorry, I'm using my little tiny iPhone 13, so your name's not coming up.
It's Lenora.
Lenora.
Yes.
Okay. Hi, Lenora. Nice to meet you. So when it's yourself, you know, that takes some work. And one of the good things about it, Lenora, is to know that there's a name for it. It's called our inner critic. And every single person has one. And, you know, I always thought, if I get more confident, if I get more in shape, if I dye my hair blonde, if I do this, I will be really confident. And sadly, it's not true. What I've learned is that the inner critic never goes away. But here's the good news. The good news is that just the awareness of your inner critic and getting in touch with that it is your inner critic is 50% of the journey to being able to manage that, so it doesn't have such a detrimental effect on you. And there's more work to be done on that in coaching, where we explore your inner critic. Who is it? Where does it come from? When does it show up? When do you feel like you're most in control or least in control of your inner critic? And then we work on practical plans so that you can prepare for the arrival of that inner critic and have a response or a way to deal with it that you haven't thought of before. We come up with that together. So it's something that you feel, oh yeah, I got this. I can do that. You know, it's not like I tell you, okay, here it is, you know, do this, do that, do that. Lather, rinse, and repeat, and it's gone. It's not like that. But it's a process where you become aware and you have a bigger perspective on what causes that inner critic to show up. And then gradually, that voice becomes more quiet, and you're able to kind of just flick it off your shoulder.
Okay, that gives me some perspective. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for asking, Lauren.
Mary, we have another question. Do you suggest having a mantra that you repeat to yourself to put the inner critic away?
A mantra is a great thing to have. I think that's a great idea. And the answer is whatever works for you. And we can explore in coaching different things. A mantra is one way to do it. And what you want to do is you want to be very specific about that mantra. So you want to really visualize who or what the inner critic looks like. And you want to develop a rational response. So if the inner critic, for example, is saying, you're never going to get certified in coaching. You work 50, 60 hours a week in sales. What are you thinking? That's what my inner critic was thinking. So I had to say, okay, so my mantra is there are no absolutes. So anytime my inner critic says never, I know they're lying. That's a lie. There are no absolutes.
Right.
So that would be mine. So if you get specific like that, I think it can be very powerful. I hope that's helpful.
Beautiful. So we have a question from Kaiba and then Anna Marie next.
It's Kiba.
Kiba, thank you.
No problem. So Johnette, I'm pretty much in a crossroads like you were in
Yes.
that I got my master's. I got it from a really great school, but when I was trying to re-engage with the workforce, it just was not and still basically isn't happening. And so my work history is kind of odd in that I went to school up here, went back to my native country, Trinidad and Tobago, worked for 8 years, came back. When I got my green card, got my master's, figured I'd be able to re-engage with the workforce. I can work here legally now. I have this master's from Georgetown. I'd be able to take the world by storm. I graduated in 2019 and I am yet to get a job in my field.
Yeah.
And ever since, for an extended period, I know I should start my business, but I'm like, I am questioning. I've constantly been questioning myself. Please walk me through the process that you went through where you were like, I just need to do this for myself because I need that either shove, nudge, or kick.
Yeah. Kiba, thank you so much for asking that question. And before I answer it, I want you to know that sometimes folks look for step-by-step processes and believe they can follow my process and the same is going to work for them. Well, not necessarily, right? So I just want to put that out there first. The first thing that I want to share with you is one of the number one things I learned about degrees. Yes, wonderful process. Yes, it challenged me, but here it is. Degrees don't magically open doors. They just don't. We've been taught that and told that in so many ways that once you do this, the world opens up. Well, you have an opportunity for the world to open up, but does it just automatically open up? No. What I learned about myself is that I was well educated, but not necessarily well activated. And what does that mean? What it means is wherever you go, there you are, inner critic, right? That's what it means. And the question is, degrees are not, in my opinion, designed for you to just operate as usual. These are tools to allow you not only into spaces that maybe you wouldn't otherwise be in, but it is also designed to unlock your mind, to explore new and different opportunities, and to be brave enough, hopefully, to do it. But you can have all the degree certifications in the world, but be scared to death to do anything different. And so if you are looking to operate as usual, particularly in this season, meaning post-COVID, I just want to suggest to you, you may need to adjust. One, deal with that inner critic, because look, I'm telling you, if you don't deal with the fear, things are not going to flow as they need to flow, but understanding that you don't get rid of fear overnight. This is a process. So don't be so hard on yourself, and by no means compare yourself to someone else's journey, because that's just going to throw even more wrenches in the game plan. But understanding that degrees are tools. They don't magically open doors. You have to work it, deal with the inner critic, start making connections with people, networking with people. Folks always underutilize LinkedIn. I have reached out to strangers and they have been willing to talk to me about what they do. Before you can even get to that, Kiba, you have to decide, what do you want? Now that's the big one. We can talk all day about what we don't want. I don't like this, don't want to do that. What do you want? And don't be afraid to admit to yourself what that is. Don't factor in, and I know it's scary, particularly, and this is one thing that holds us up, our mate is not in agreement. That can trigger and hold us, oh, I can't do that because it's going to impact this. I have kids, I'm this age, I don't have that. You have to block out all of that, and using some of the strategies that Mary just shared. It might be your hubby that you have to put and leave in the car. I'm just saying, I'm not trying to break up any relationships, but I am saying you have to free yourself of that, because you were divinely and uniquely made for a specific purpose. And my suspicion is, and every client that I've spoken to, you know what you want. You know what that is because you dream about it. And it taps you on the shoulder every now and then, but you're afraid to turn around and face it. And so I hear you in the business that you're talking about. Spend some time with a coach, a good friend, someone you trust, someone with a level head, to just allow yourself to say it out of your mouth. I want to start a business in. Just say it. And then go from there and move through the process. Now, there are some more technical things about starting a business, of course, but it starts in your mind. To begin to renew that and start thinking differently about who you are, how you want to show up in the world. And are you willing to put pieces of yourself under the bed? So that's where I had to start. It starts inside before you're really able to do any of the other work. Kiba, is that helpful?
Yes, it was. And I put in the comments that I'm single and childless, so you didn't hurt my feelings in any shape, form, or fashion.
And what that means too, I mean, really, the sky's the limit. Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
I said I have a lot of flexibility that most people don't have.
Right. And so I would say, consider seriously taking whatever leaps, particularly in this season. You know, you're here for a reason. I don't believe that we come together in these instances by coincidence. There's something for you to hear and to receive in this moment, but we're not here just to hear and to receive. It is then also for us to take action. And so there are many things to take action on. And I just want to encourage you, again, get with Mary, get with me, or someone you trust to really begin to talk through where you are and what it is you want in this season of your professional, personal life. So again, thank you. Anna Marie.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, actually I'm going to shift the conversation a little bit, because based on what you just said is kind of a good intro to what I wanted to. I don't really have a question. I just kind of wanted to process what I was hearing today, and really primary one of the reasons I came to this session. And you talked about alignment and then things happening for a reason. Johnette and I were able to reconnect recently after knowing each other for many years, when I was probably not so good undergrad student at the time. but just being able to reconnect and alignment, and reasons that we're here for. And one of the things that I think I've been reading a lot about in terms of your professional value, and feeling like I'm at a point where I love my job. I'm not particularly interested in starting something of my own. You know, my career is what I've chosen to, and I love it. But I am at a point where I feel like I'm stuck in terms of, okay, how do I get to the next point? How do I get to the next point? And, you know, and completing my doctoral work, hopefully in the next year. And so I know that that's also a step, and kind of getting slightly nervous about what that means, because I am seeing people who are applying to the jobs who have doctorate degrees, and applying for really less qualified jobs. Because that's just what's available, right? So I fear that coming. But then just really kind of working on myself in terms of, if I'm not giving this at work, but then valuing myself and valuing myself professionally, because sometimes you're not getting that at work. And so how do I do that? And then how do I not get stuck? But yeah, that's kind of where my thought process, as you all were talking and sharing your experiences. And yeah, there's a reason I reached out to you a couple weeks ago, and there's a reason why this session came to be as I reached out to you. And yeah, so it brings me back to me thinking about it, when I kind of tend to put it aside. I got too much work to do, I'm going to put this aside. So this moment just gave me the opportunity to kind of rethink about my professional value.
Good. Thank you for sharing. And in the couple of minutes that we have, you know, I really want us to circle back to peace. You deserve it. You deserve to have that. Many of us have lived our lives for someone else, to be accepted, to be loved, to validate ourselves, right? Because we didn't feel like we were anything. And we felt like, I need to get married, I need to have some kids, I need to hold this title, I need to have this degree to validate me. And then you do all of those things and you still don't feel validated. You still don't feel like you're qualified. And I just want to encourage you to begin that work now. There's no one on this call who has joined this call by accident. You all get invitations all of the time, but you chose this one for some reason. And what I'm finding, and I'll tell you this, is that most of my clients are 40 plus, mid to senior level executives, highly educated, meaning at least 2 degrees, regardless of socioeconomic status, race. Many still don't know their value, their professional value, and are still looking for more. I got to get this, I got to get that certificate. And you see their names and they have a list of credentials, but they're still stuck. So it's not the degrees, right? It's not the certifications. Those things are important, yes, to be competitive, but that's an indication that there's something more. And I don't believe that you don't know what that is. I just don't believe it. It really is a decision to finally turn around and say, okay. Oh, okay. Now, whether you act on it today, well, no, not necessarily. But you know what you want. And really, that's the first step, is to admit, this is what I want for my life. We're not to scare you, but we're not, today is the youngest we'll ever be. Right now, it's the youngest you'll ever be. And so if you're not going to do it now, then when? And so you say, when the children, when the this, when the that. Well, okay, I get it, maybe in full execution, but there are things that you can do now to get started. And I just want to share with you something that you may have missed. Don't miss the fact that Mary and I came together. We met each other through a coaching class in 2019. We have not had a full conversation probably in several years, but she stayed in touch through my post, supporting my post, reposting my post, commenting on my post to show solidarity, alignment, support. That way we remain connected, right? So she wanted to do more things in front of the camera. I wanted to do more things in front of the camera, and it came to me, let's do it scared together. You don't have to do this by yourself. Join forces with someone else and say, let's do this. And what I also stressed to her and others who did the video series, some people were asking, well, what is it? What does it mean? What? And I'm like, don't stress over it, right? It's whatever you've been freed from. It could be very simple. And it doesn't have to be this deep, profound. It doesn't. Just breathe. It's okay. Take the titles off, the labels off, the expectations off. And in this season, for once, what do you want for you? What do you want for you? And we're about a minute over time. But that's what I want to leave you with. Mary, I want to give you the opportunity to, if you want to leave a final word, and to provide everyone, if you have an offer for them to work with you, and I'll share mine, and then we'll conclude the session.
Thank you, Johnette. Beautifully said. And I'm so glad you said that, because there's help out there. And the first step is to ask for help. So, through my business, firstmatelifecoach.com, I do offer a free 30-minute consultation, so we can just hop on a call, no stress. And I will explain how the coaching model works and how I can work with you and how we can work together. And if you think it's a match, we go from there. My email address is Mary, Mary, at firstmatelifecoach.com. And that's all one word. So if any of you feel that you'd love to just reach out and say hi, we can call it a free consultation. We can call it just a phone call, or an email, email me and we'll do that. So, and I wish everybody on this call well, and nothing but happiness.
Perfect. Mary, sis, thank you so much. I love you. This has been a good time. You all, I don't know what's next. I just did this. Mary and I were on a call, and I'm like, we should do this. Are we going to do another one? I don't know. If you think we should do another one, send us an email or say something in the chat. And if there is another one, what should be the focus? How should we do it? My information, you can visit my website at liberated-expressions.com. In terms of my offer, I offer resume support and strategic advising. You all, I really want to get in front of larger audiences. I love doing one-to-one work, but I also want to expand what I offer. I know that I have something. Now, That's not a vain statement. It's taken me years to be able to say that without feeling weird about it. I'm owning what I have, okay? I want to get in front of more people. So if you know corporations, organizations, churches, that could utilize my services, Mary's services, please let us know. Let us know. That's how we get out there and really support one another. And I see you all say do another one. Would love to hear what that looks like. You know, if there's a particular focus, or we can drill down more on our stories and our experiences. I'm definitely really excited to do that. And so, Mary, if you're in agreement, we will do another one. Maybe this will turn into the podcast that we were talking about. I don't know. But we're operating in yes, right? In yes. When you get an inspiration, an idea, rather than overthink it, my answer is yes. Don't always know how I'm going to get it done. And I hope that you will adopt the same in this season. Mecca says, would like to see another one focused on women supporting women. Got it. Noted. Okay. Well, you all, we appreciate you. Thank you. My prayer is that you indeed do feel more peace. You're invigorated, you're excited, and you're motivated and empowered to do what it is you want to do in this season. And more importantly, what you're called to do, purposed to do in this season. We appreciate you. Please share this experience with your friends. Put it on LinkedIn or your social media outlets and tag us, please, so that more people know about what's happening here and how critical these conversations are. So thank you so much. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.